Finally, a good mech game. Ever since Nintendo E3 2018's press conference, I've very much been looking forward to Daemon X Machina. It looks like a slick, stylish mech action game right up my alley, and once I heard the Armored Core producer had his hands on the project, I knew we were in for a good time. This game was trying to do everything to stay on people's radars, dropping one alpha demo that had pretty positive fan feedback, and well, they used a lot of our feedback in the final product, which is always a bonus. It also had a prologue demo which lets you transfer your save to the full retail game, a pretty slick anime backstory on YouTube, and it was really trying to push itself to be the next big thing in the mainstream Nintendo world. Sadly, just like many other mech games of old, it's already fallen to the wayside. But that's neither here nor there. I've come to tell you guys why you should support Daemon X Machina and give it the proper love it deserves. I guess we should cover the story first. Okay, I'll keep it real with you. The story does feel disjointed and sometimes flat out random at points. Characters often come in and out of dialogue, and it can be pretty hard to keep track of everyone. However, I won't knock the game for that. It's pretty clear the storyline is similar to a Saturday morning anime or cartoon where a cast of characters go in for a mission, some stuff goes down, and things kind of get worse and worse from there. It's kind of like a Monster of the Week show that kind of accumulates into a bigger threat. To sum it up, you play as Rookie, a new mercenary on the job who's completely independent and only cares about getting that shmoney. On your missions, you're joined by a plethora of mercenary factions that all rotate and mix and match characters based on the circumstances. Let's just say if I had to list all of them, we'd be here for a while. All you need to know is that these guys are either going to be your allies or your enemies, and will try to help you on any mission they can, or vice versa. Each mercenary belongs to a certain company. However, one of the companies starts acting up, which causes the rest of the characters to start investigating everyone's actions, being all suspicious and stuff. So the game sets the stage of thrilling politics, interesting drama, and a whole lot of he said she said stuff, and it's got really good world building on top of it through messages between the different world trade companies. If you have a hard time understanding the story, then I really do recommend reading up on these messages because they really do a good job of fleshing out the world. The story is pretty fun, all things considered. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's for the most part pretty lighthearted. It has some decent twists and turns and isn't afraid to get dark, but those moments genuinely feel earned. The dialogue between the cast is refreshing. It feels organic and characters bounce off each other seamlessly. It truly feels like they're all old friends that have been in the field for years. Cutscenes are also really good. They look cinematic even when it's just two people talking statically. The camera does a surprisingly good job of cutting in and out between shots and going for some really unique angles at times. They put a lot of care in the cutscenes, and it really shows throughout the cinematography the game produces, which was one of the high points for me. The only gripe I have is the abundance of text boxes the game offers. It can get a bit tedious and tiring just seeing people talk and having huge story beats play out with really great animated cutscenes, only to return back to dull gray background text with voice boxes. However, it's again a small gripe, and you're going to be doing a lot of reading in this game regardless, so it's kind of a preference thing. If you don't mind the extra dialogue and reading and catching up on the lore, then I don't think it'll be too much of an issue for you, especially knowing how most games are doing that these days. But it does get a little bit on the grindy side, especially when you're going for longer play sessions, so keep that in mind. But let's keep it real. Very few of you guys are playing a mech action game for its story, so I'm glad to tell you guys that the gameplay is top of the line. Out the gate, mech movement is downright gorgeous. Your mech responds to your moves effortlessly. The boost button is going to be your best friend, allowing for your mech to quickly dodge out of the way of machine gun fire, missile barrages, landmines, and many more threats. It's so exhilarating to rush into battle and basically execute a ballet of dodging and weaving through enemy fire as you fire out what feels like an endless rounds of ammunition onto your helpless AI foes. Enemies are a bit on the easy side, however, I won't lie. The generic drones, cannons, and tanks aren't really too much of a threat. The AI mechs, the Strayas, offer somewhat of a good challenge because they're tankier and move around pretty fast, but other than that, they're just ammo fodder. The only legitimate threatening grunt-like enemies are the helicopters, which constantly shoot out missile barrages, and the giant laser cannon that fills the entire screen. These baddies, there are people you don't want to mess around with. However, that's not the meat of the game. They're literally put in place to farm loot or farm ammo, similar to the grunt-like enemies you'll fight in games like Monster Hunter. The real meat comes from the immortal AI and mech fights, and let me tell you now, the immortal boss fights are so much fun. They always have a little quirk to their playstyle that really makes figuring out their patterns a ton of fun. For example, this spider boss dude over here, his main gimmick is charging up a force field that pushes you back and can really send you flying, pouncing on top of you like some kind of animal and firing off that big ol' laser. Or this giant mech that has a gosh darn claymore attached to its hand, pretty much one-shotting your mech depending on your build. And he has missiles and lasers, and oh my gosh, he's definitely a threat. These are just a few of the very fast-paced immortal encounters you'll tackle throughout the game. Oh, and the mech fights, Alright, mech fights are really bombastic and basically scream the definition of anime. If you're not bringing a sword fight to one of these, you're messing up. Bringing a sword lets you and your character go into clash mode against enemy mechs, mash fast and mash hard to push back the opposition. These fights test your, well, everything and really keep you on your toes, making gameplay never feel stale. Want to know what else helps this game not feel stale? The amount of customization available. Gunplay is rewarding and responsive as it's easy to lock onto your opponents and let the bullets fly. Plus, Daemon X Machina never stops giving you new toys to play with, from laser cannons to missile launchers, trip mines, and down thrusters, allowing to keep your movement fresh and unique, sniper rifles and laser, machine guns, the list goes on. It's a never-ending list of weapons, each with pretty unique properties and upgradable attachments to keep replay value ever so high. You gain blueprints and different equipment by playing through free missions, which I really recommend. You make decent enough loot throughout the main campaign, but some of the later missions can get pretty tough. It's best to play a handful of free missions and at the very least grind for slightly better equipment. While you're at it, here's a tip. Make sure you guys buy some ice cream for extra perks such as increased speed, reload speeds, boosted mech movement, the works. This is really important for the later levels of Daemon X Machina, as being able to have good movement really comes a long way against dealing with certain speedy machines. On that note, campaign missions do play it a bit on the safe side. They alternate enough to stay fresh, but towards the middle and end I really felt the missions getting a bit repetitive at times. Minus 3 or 4 standout ones in a certain rank. It'd be nice if they took some of the missions we got in the free missions area, such as piloting a giant mech or even collecting certain materials to spice up the quest a little bit. Thankfully, nothing here gets too grindy or repetitive to the point it makes me feel bored, and the game does a great job of spacing things out and making content very enjoyable. Multiplayer is also where this game really hits that Monster Hunter itch. It mainly consists of amped up immortal and mech boss fights as you and your team of 4 take on Titanic level threats. Going in with the right build and fully tricking out your mech to melt bosses' health bars is so much fun, it never gets old for me. It's just too satisfying to combo weapons and unleash a flurry of attacks on immortals, causing for some sweet explosions to go off and maybe causing the frame rate to take while you're at it. It's, you know, no big deal. It recovers pretty fast. The netcode is also pretty good for the most part. I haven't ran into any major lag or issues, and I've played a good chunk of missions. My biggest complaint with the multiplayer is that when all is said and done, I wish the devs could add in some extra modes to it. It's fun to take down the immortals, but maybe it'd be nice to have some PvP. Oh, never mind. The madmen over at Marvelous actually did it. So not only are we getting some high-octane immortal and mech fights, we're also getting some high-octane PvP mech fights coming in the near future. Do I have to say any more? It's honestly depressing games like Daemon X Machina always go unnoticed or sometimes thrashed on by many. The game really feels like a love letter to mech games of the past, with the hack and slash mechanics of Zone of the Enders, the fast-paced movement of Armored Core, and the incredibly responsive gunplay of games like Metal Wolf Chaos, all thrown into one magical anime blender with a metric ton of originality and care put into the art style, graphics, and yes, even the frame rate. For the most part, there are some really bad dips with the frame rate, but alas, it's an incredibly fun co-op mech action game with local and online multiplayer all in the palm of your hand thanks to the Nintendo Switch. It goes without saying, if you're a fan of looter shooters or Monster Hunter style games, I really think you should pick this one up. It's well worth the price of admission. I'm Young Falcon signing out. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and do yourself a favor, save those $60 for a copy of Daemon X Machina. It's definitely going to be worth it. See you guys next time.